Hey, what's up, Hilo News family? This show is brought to you by Baptist Health's Pine App. Healthcare at your fingertips with the Pine App. Hey, what's up, Hilo News family? Welcome to another episode of Can We Talk, our show where we talk to dope people in the community doing dope things, and today is no different. I'm your host, Janey Tate, publisher of Hilo News, and today we have a very special guest. I'm so excited to have him on because there's a very important issue going on in the Black community, especially in Miami-Dade County, and it's the Virginia Key Park Trust and the board in the city of Miami ousting them, and we have the super popular Mr. Patrick Range. He's been on national news, local news. He's been all over social media trending because he has been, the cheerleader and a champion, giving us all the information we need to know about what's going on with the Virginia Key Beach Park Trust. And so I'm so excited. And without further ado, I'm excited to bring on Mr. Range to the show. Hey, what's up?
Good afternoon, Janey. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us. Like you said, we were, offline. It's been a mission for us to get together. I know you've been super busy, so I am so grateful that you're taking time to speak with us today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to be here on your platform, and there's no other platform like Hilo News. So we've been anxious to get on, as anxious as you have been to get me on. I've been anxious to get on with you. So thanks for the opportunity to help us spread this information, this very important information to our community.
Oh man, I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you. And first of all, for anybody, because I want to kind of lay that groundwork, especially our audience is millennial, even Gen Z audience. A lot of people need to know the history of even just your family and what the pillars that you are in the community. Can you tell a little bit about that before we jump into the deepness of the Virginia Key Beach issues? Tell us about your family and the history and the legacy that you guys have here in Miami-Dade County.
Thank you so much, Janey. And I'll just take just a brief minute to share that with you. I'm a native Miami, was born and raised here in Miami, in Liberty City, and as was my father and my grandmother, my grandparents, who really started us here in Miami. My grandfather started Range Funeral Home, which we still operate today. And so he was able to start that business back in 1953. Wow. My grandmother, M. Athley Range, started the business with him. Unfortunately, he died very early on, and she kind of came into control of the business along with my father. And during that time, she was also raising a family and was president of the PTA, Parent Teachers Association, for her children. And she fought for basic things like cold drinking water fountains in Black schools. And so because of her fight there, many people saw her vigor and her energy towards improving things in the Black community. And she was asked eventually to run for city commission. She eventually became the first Black city commissioner here in the city of Miami. And so very proud of her and her legacy, and obviously of my grandfather as well, and his legacy in starting the business here. So we've been an active family politically, socially, civically here in the Miami area for many, many years. And it's been my honor and my pleasure to try to carry that legacy forward.
And that you have, and just to give even to you your big ups and give you your spotlight, tell us about the work that you have been doing to continue on that legacy of the Range family here in Miami-Dade County. It's your time. Speak your stuff,
Thank you. Well, of course, we all stand on the shoulders of those who have come before us. And so I have to give proper homage to my grandmother, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so, because most of what I am about and do is because of her and what she was about and did. So I'm very, very honored to, like I said, continue that legacy. And after she passed, it was very important for me to pick up on some of the things that she left undone. And one of those was her labor of love in Virginia Key Beach, and restoring the park to what it was in its heyday. And just for your listeners and viewers, Virginia Key Beach Park was the only beach that Blacks could go to back in segregation Jim Crow era days. And so we could not go to South Beach. We could not go to Hallover Beach, or anywhere else that we frequent nowadays. The only beach that we could go to was Virginia Key Beach Park. And we as a people did a little bit of everything out there because that was our space. That was ours to enjoy. And so not only did we celebrate things like holidays and birthdays and those sorts of things out there, but we also had churches and religious folks who came out and did a lot of things along those lines out there as well. We had a number of persons who were baptized out of Virginia Key Beach Park. We had a number of Easter sunrise services that were done out at Virginia Key Beach Park. Weddings, all of these sorts of things. So many people have a very deep connection to Virginia Key Beach Park because it was the only place that we could go to recreate and call as our own. And so my grandmother, of course, knew that history, lived that history, and she, along with many, many other persons, it again was not just her, but many others that saw the importance of keeping this sacred ground open to the public and available for our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren to be able to come out and enjoy and learn the history of how we enjoyed it.
Yeah. And it's such a rich history. And my mom and my family, we're born and raised in Miami as well. And I remember her talking about going to that beach, and that it was the only beach that Black people could go to. And even after segregation, that was just still one of our meeting spaces as in the Black community, because it was just a near and dear place to our heart. And so Virginia Key Beach has gone through a lot of different changes over the years. After segregation, different things went on. Can you tell us a little bit about the history and how we got to that point of having the governing board of the Virginia Key Beach Park Trust, and how and managing the park and bringing it to its restoration to what we know it to today?
Absolutely. So obviously, after the end of segregation, we as Black folks could go to a lot of the places that we could not previously. So we now could go to South Beach. We now could go to Hallover. We now could go to restaurants and other places in the city that, again, we could not. And so because of that, Virginia Keys are not the easiest place to get to. And so a lot of the other beaches and recreation spots, parks and things are closer than Virginia Key is to a lot of our Black areas like Liberty City or Miami Gardens, Coconut Grove, Richmond Heights, these sorts of places. So folks began to opt to go to these places that we could not go to. And so eventually the Virginia Key Beach fell into disrepair. Because you did not have as many folks going out to enjoy it. Folks now, because of integration, wanted to be able to go and enjoy the other places that they couldn't previously. So because the park fell into disrepair, eventually it was closed and remained closed for quite a while. And it closed in 1982. So just to back up a little bit. So Virginia Key Beach Park opened in 1945, and that's when we started to, as a people, go there and enjoy and recreate. And then obviously at the end of segregation days, around 1965 in the later 60s, when integration began to really take shape and folks could visit these other places, is when the park fell into disrepair. So it was closed in 1982, and really was not in use at all until kind of my heyday came along a little bit. And folks know Uncle Luke and Two-Eyed Crew and those sorts of folks those days. And we held Splashdown.
Okay.
And so that was, that was a summertime party that folks from the community remembered Virginia Key and went out to enjoy it. We had concerts and all sorts of things out there associated with Splashdown. But it was never really open to the public other than that. And there eventually was a developer that came forward and proposed to build a eco resort or a hotel there on the park's property. And citizens got together, folks like my grandmother, other persons like Gene Tinney and Dick Townsend and Greg Bush and many other persons got together, and we said, hey, this is not the appropriate place to build a private hotel. This is public land. This was a public park. This was sacred, particularly to the Black community, but also to environmentalists. And a lot of us, especially nowadays, don't know that. But Virginia Key Beach is also a very highly regarded environmental gem.
Oh, wow.
So we have a lot of endangered species of plants and animals that, existed and do exist today on the park. We have loggerhead sea turtles that nest on our beach, and they are a protected species. We have also different types of plant life and so forth that are native and protected that we also care for out at our park. So we've always had support from environmentalists as well in terms of preserving this beach. And so again, all these folks got together and said, no developer, no city, we are not okay with you all building a hotel here. This space needs to remain open to the public for everyone to enjoy. And so that was the really beginning of the Virginia Key Beach Park Trust being created. It was created back in 2000, the year 2000, by then Commissioner Arthur E. Teal Jr., who's passed away, unfortunately. But he was the impetus behind creating the trust, along with the citizens, to ensure that the citizens would have a say-so over what happened on this land. And so my grandmother, M. Athley Range, became the founding chair of the trust, along with some of these other persons whose names we just mentioned: Gene Tinney, Dick Townsend, Dr. Enid Pinckney, Miss Eugenia Thomas, and many others were the first trust members that sat and sought to reopen the park. And so there were a lot of steps taken. A lot of things had to be done in order to even reopen the park. During the time that it was closed, there were a lot of exotic species of plants and so forth that, overgrew the park. And so we took a lot of effort. We had a lot of volunteers to come out. We received a lot of financial grants to remove a lot of those exotic species that had no business being there, and also to restore the grounds there. That included doing a renourishment of the beach. So we had the Army Corps of Engineers, who was employed, part of the U.S. federal government, come out and actually dump tons of new sand onto the beach to, build the beach back up to where it should be. So all of these efforts went into opening the park again, which we did. We opened the park back to the public in 2008 after taking all of these steps. And then we completed, and I forgot to say, let me back up just a moment. The city of Miami, once the trust was created, passed a master plan for the park. And that master plan basically was a plan for the entire 82 acres of the park. And within that document said what the community believed should happen now at the park. So the community got together and helped develop this master plan, which said that, yes, the park should be reopened. It should be reopened with a lot of the original elements that people used to enjoy back in the day. Elements like the mini train, which we have out there again, the carousel, the dance pavilion and concession stand. So all of these things are things that you can see and experience when you go out to the park now. And so we're very proud of that. And really, we've done all that we've been asked to do, except for the building of the museum. And this museum would be the first museum in the city of Miami dedicated to Black history, and specifically the Black immigrant experience here. So those are the things that the trust was tasked to do after it was created. And again, we've been very fortunate we've been able to accomplish all of those things, except for the construction of the museum. And that's what we've been working very hard on.
Interesting. And so you guys are you're laid out, and I'm so glad you went deep into that. And I'm glad for our platform, we're digital, so we don't have restriction of time like as TV and other platforms do. So I'm glad that you're going deep in, because like I said, for my audience, especially the younger audience, we may not know all of these things. So you're giving us context, and information that we need so we can make informed decisions. So I appreciate you for doing that. And it's interesting that you laid out the fact that you guys have done all of these things to prepare for this next step of building the museum. And so from my research and my reporting on this issue, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Range, it seemed like there needed to be certain things in place and certain things needed to get done in order for the museum step to even get started. Am I correct? And so there's a disconnect in where we are now, and why everybody wants to know like what's going on. It's like, how do we get from this and you guys doing everything to currently the city of Miami Commission saying, you know what, you guys aren't fit to do this. We're going to oust you and take over this. And it started with an item sponsored by Commissioner Christine King, saying that I think she wanted to, amend or do something with the board. And then it ended up being, okay, we're just going to replace the whole board. How do we even get here? Like, how does this even happen? Like, why do you think this is happening?
So I'm gonna give it to you raw, Janey. This is what I know, and this is what has happened. Basically, and you may be familiar, there was talk, and there was actually an item that came up before the city commission a couple of months ago, talking about a homeless encampment site.
Yes.
And so the city of Miami, particularly the mayor and one of the commissioners, during their campaigning before they were elected, talked about the homeless issue here in Miami. And obviously, we do have an issue with the homeless, and there being an inordinate amount of homeless people here, who are not being served, by the institutions that are out there, Camilla's House and others, who help to house and provide services to the homeless. And so one of their efforts was to address that issue. And the way they chose to address that issue was to have city manager staff, to go out and research potential sites that a homeless encampment site could be placed on. One of those places they identified was Virginia Key. And how or why they got to identify that as a location is beyond me. But the commissioners thought that eventually they came to a decision that they thought that site of the 4 of the others that were proposed, that Virginia Key would be the most reasonable site to do this homeless encampment on. And so they passed a resolution. The city commission passed a resolution to further study that site, to further study Virginia Key Island as the place for this homeless encampment to be placed. The community, not just the trust, but certainly the trust, was opposed to this idea, certainly because we don't feel that the homeless encampment belongs anywhere on Virginia Key. There are no services, there are no medical attentive, no hospitals or critical care centers that people could go to for these sorts of needs that they would have. So we spoke out against it. Many other people from the community spoke out against it. They called commissioners and said, this is a bad idea. They called the chair of the commission, Christine King, and said, this is a bad idea. Said, you are, the Black commissioner here. Why would you propose this? She took offense at the people that were calling and holding her responsible for this. And she met with me and said, hey, if I'm going to be held responsible for this beach, which she said is not in her district, which it is not, she said, if I'm going to be held responsible for this, then I want to have control over it. And so I said, well, wait a minute. I said, this is our beach. I said, the District 5, the seat that you hold, District 5 commissioner, dating all the way back to Commissioner Arthur Teal, has always been supportive of what we are doing out at Virginia Key Beach. So we need your help, to help us move this museum forward. And so she said, well, what I want to do is, since I'm being held responsible for this, I want to make 5 appointments to the trust. I myself, as commissioner, want to be able to make 5 appointments to the trust. The way the trust had been set up, each commissioner got 1 appointment to the trust. And so when she presented this idea, I said, look, that's not going to solve our issue. I said, as a matter of fact, it could complicate our issue. I said, our issue is the fact that we have not had the political support from the commission in order to help us build this museum. And that's what I need from you. And so she took that as me saying it was okay for her to make 5 appointments to the trust. And she proceeded to present a resolution to give herself 5 appointments to the trust. City Commission said, absolutely not. We are not going to give up our appointments to the trust. As a matter of fact, since you presented this idea and you want to take control, we all want to have control. So we're going to change your resolution, and we're going to make it so that each commissioner now sits as a trust member, and the other trust members will be out. And so that's how we have gotten to where we are today. And it's unfortunate. Our own commissioner has presented resolutions to put us out and give us no further voice to say what goes on here.
That is just confusing AF. Why the motivation and all of that, I'm still doing my reporting and my digging, so I'm going to try to be very delicate in how I say certain things. In my opinion pieces when you're not around, because I don't want anybody to implicate you, I'm definitely going to say what I think. And I have shared that, but it just seems very crazy to me. And so an interesting interview that I saw with Jawan Strader on NBC, where Commissioner King was saying specific things that nothing had been done. And so she felt like she needed to step in. And so, in that interview, Jawan pushed back and said, no, these are a list of things. And if you go to the Virginia Key Beach website as well, you can see like the improvements and things over the years as well. But then she specifically said, no, I mean, in regards to the museum, nothing has been done. And I wanted you to plainly, just for the audience and the community to state, is that true? what she said, nothing has been done with the museum, with the Park Trust Board working towards the museum. Is that true?
That's an absolute lie. We have been working towards the construction of the museum since day one. Everything that has been done there has been done by the trust so far. And again, we have a whole list of accomplishments that we have done. But the museum, first of all, requires a whole lot of preparation. First of all, we had to be about, gathering monies together to be able to build the museum. And so we approached the county. We eventually were able to get county dollars assigned for the construction of the museum, but then those dollars have to be accessed. And there's a process for that. The county will deliver the money to the city. The city obviously is the one that has the control over the trust. So the Virginia Key Beach Trust, just for clarity for your viewers, is an arm of the city. We could be taken out by the city at any time, just as they've done. Also, they have oversight over the trust. So the city commission, we have to report to them essentially. Okay?
And also, it's a volunteer board, or is there any?
This is a volunteer.
Okay,
this is a volunteer board. I have not received a dime. None of the other trustees have ever received a dime. We are there because we are passionate about the park and seeing to it that this park is available to our generations to come in the future. That's our only motivation. And my motivation specifically is obviously included with the fact that my grandmother, this was her last labor of love before she passed. So my interest in this, her interest in this, all of the trustees' interest in this is to see to it that this museum gets built and that we have something here that we can cherish and treasure and call our own. So to say that we have done nothing is a lie. The facts are that it takes more than just this volunteer trust to get this done, as you might imagine.
Yes.
We can't just go and build a museum. We need the cooperation of the city. We also need the cooperation of the county because they're the ones that hold the dollars. So that means the city commission and the county commission. And what the story that's not being told here is that our very own city commissioners and county commissioners in recent years have not gotten along. I'm not going to mention names. You can look up who they were and who they are. They have not gotten along. I think the chair, Christine King, because she never talked to me about us, wanting to take us over as such and put me out, because I certainly would have never agreed to that. They have been looking for ways and tools to push us out. So the first thing that she brought to me was, well, there's an audit out there. Did you know that there's an audit that's been done on the trust? And this audit says that maybe you guys haven't been doing some things financially that you're supposed to be doing. As a matter of fact, some other commissioners even suggested that, we had our hands in the cookie jar and that we were taking money, that there was malfeasance going on. So we were incensed to hear these things because we had already seen the audit and we knew that none of these things were in the audit. So we're saying, where is this coming from? And so we've now proven, because the audit has been released and is available for your viewers and anybody else out there that wants to see it. It has no indication that there was any malfeasance, that we had taken any money or anything of the sort. So that was a lie. Okay.
Yeah, that was also a big issue too that I saw in the news too, that first they claimed that there had been malfeasance and things that weren't being done right. And then you guys proved like, no, there hasn't been any hands caught in the cookie jar, any mismanagement of funds. And so it was like, okay, you said this was a issue. We've proven that this is not an issue. So why are you not leaving us alone?
Right. And so then then the narrative changed. Okay, it's not about the audit anymore. Y'all just proved that. So now it's, oh, well, you all haven't done anything in 18 years. So it's just them moving the goalposts, and once we clear this up, then I'm sure it'll be something else, but the fact is that we have been working hard. The trust meets twice a month, every month.
Wow.
Okay. And the only thing that we have left to do is to construct this museum, but we can't do it without the cooperation of the city commission and of the county commission. And there has not been the political support there to do it.
Wow.
I haven't even been able to meet with my own city commissioners since they've been elected. I've asked to meet with the only one that I have met with, and that was twice, was the chair, Christine King. And that was only after these issues about the audit and so forth came up and they were talking about, not even approving our budget. But there was no interest in what we were doing before that. Nobody came to us and said, hey, well, what's going on with Virginia Key? Are you guys having problems? Do you need help? And this is after us requesting to meet with these same commissioners.
Wow.
So some of them have not even made appointments to the trust. So we have open seats on the trust because they have not taken the time to find volunteers who would serve in the seats that are available to them to appoint. So it's crazy, and it shouldn't. The community needs to be upset, that this has happened, and that the commission is trying to lie on us, and say all these things that aren't true to justify them taking us out.
And I hate to say this, but there are so many parallels when it comes to our things in the Black community, especially in Black Miami-Dade, where it seems like you guys have been kind of like, for lack of better words, like the forgotten child. Like, it's like, we're going to give you the bare minimum. And to hear, and this is something that I feel like was missing from the narrative, and I'm so glad that you're speaking on this. It's like, I'm reading these articles, and there are not a lot of people outlining what you guys did do and all the outreach that you guys did do to reach out to the elected officials to keep things moving forward. And I think what you said in one of your interviews is that we can't do anything without the city approving. We're their oversight commission. So we can have plans in place. We can have all these different things that we want to do. And I did hear that you guys even submitted plans for the museum to be approved. And so what happened with that? Like, so you guys are submitting stuff, and what is the city doing when you guys are doing this? Are they rejecting them? Is it bureaucratic? Is it just being held up? Like, can you explain that process to the audience?
Yeah, both the city and the county have continued to move the goalposts. They continue to put up roadblocks. So every time they tell us, okay, well, you guys need to do this, we'll do that. And then it'll be, oh, well, you guys didn't do this, though, and now you need to go and do this. And then we'll do that. And they'll say, oh, well, you didn't do this. Now you need to go and do that. And so this is what we've been dealing with. So you're correct. Just as an example, we did hire an architect who actually drew plans for the museum. We have renderings of museum plans from 10 years ago.
Wow.
But once
I was going to ask you, like, for how long have you guys been working on plans for the museum? Like, right, at that phase of the work that you guys were doing. So it's been years.
Right. And we couldn't even move those plans forward because the legal department came forward at some point after we had hired the architect and said the procurement department, which is also the city, did something wrong in the hiring of this architect. And so we can't allow this to continue. And so we're going to throw out the whole. So there was a bid process, and I'm sorry, I didn't say that. There was what's called an RFP, or request for proposals, which you basically open out and you say what it is that you want. So we said we want an architect that can design a museum, that will be, this tall, this many square feet, and will address Black history. And so we give the opportunity for anybody to come forward and say, yes, I can give a design for that. And they also give a price, and we're allowed to go and select the best price and the best product out of all of the proposals that we received. So we had selected an architect out of all the proposals we received. This architect went ahead, started doing renderings and so forth, only for the legal department to come along later and say, oh, well, the procurement department didn't do something right in putting out the request for proposals. So we got to throw out all of the proposals that were received, including the ones that you selected, and basically made us start all over again. And then we never could get back to that process because it was, okay, well, now you guys need to have sufficient money in hand to ensure that the museum will be able to be maintained. So not only do you have to have your dollars in construction in hand, which we already had, but now we want to see that you have dollars that will be able to maintain the museum going forward. So we said, okay, well, I guess if you're saying we got to do that, we'll do that. But first of all, that's ridiculous to me. This is a museum for the community. Why would you not see to it, county, if the city's not going to do it? Why would you not see to it, county? This is what the citizens have said that they wanted. You guys make sure that the museum gets maintained. But they're using as an example the Performing Arts Center, the Adrian Arts Center, and the county poured millions of dollars into that they will never see again. And so they feel like they don't want to be put in that position again, where they're going to be responsible for paying off debts for a museum that that's not self-sustaining.
Wow.
So, we can talk about these things, but for me, that's absolutely ridiculous. We should have a museum dedicated to Black history here. I don't care what it takes.
Yes, definitely.
But all of those things, were turned back to us. Well, Trust, you got to figure this out. You got to figure this out. And so we're coming to our city commissioners and others, and there's no support in helping us figure these things out.
It's so funny that when it comes to our things, and did you notice the irony in the fact that it was okay for this other project to get created. But when it comes to our things, we got to make sure you got the construction cost and the operation cost before we can even move forward. But it's like, okay, why are we not being held to the same standard as another project within the same system of things? And I think, for the community, once they started reading about what was going on and learning about what was going on, it was just like, man, this is unfair. And this seems like, like they're trying to take away, our identity and our things here in Black Miami. I want people to really understand the importance of having, even though it's a volunteer board, why it's important to have people that look like us and from the community on this board versus the people, the city commission who is now in charge. Why is that important? Why do people need to really understand why we need our community-led board?
Yes. First of all, no one can tell our history better than us, especially here in Miami. No one can tell our history better than us. And so it should be us telling our history, not somebody else. And not only that, but the community, again, remember where we started from. The community is the reason that this trust was created, because the community saw the importance of this land and the importance to our history that this land holds. And so the community has poured in all kinds of input. We've taken oral histories. We have artifacts that people have given that all would be a part of the museum experience. And if you don't have these folks who have been collecting this information at the table, what kind of museum are you building? How do you even know what should be in there? That's for us to do. No one else. No one's going to go down and tell no white or Black persons are going to go and build the Cuban museum and say what's going to go in there.
No, not in Miami.
The Cuban community is not going to build the Holocaust Museum and not have the Jewish community involved. I mean, come on. This is basics, So what it says is that there's a reason that they're trying to take this from us, and that's what we have to understand as people, is that, there's other things going on behind the scenes. We have to step up and take control over what's ours and not allow them to take it from us. And that's what's going on here. And if we allow it to happen here, as you said, it will happen in anything else that we have, in everything else that we have.
Exactly. And there's been a group of people, and if you guys are looking at the screen, I put up a website, blackmdc.org. There's been a collective of Black leaders and business people and influencers who are joining together to save Black Miami-Dade, and the Virginia Key Beach Park Trust has been one of their leading initiatives. Can you tell us about that collective, Patrick, and the importance of that mission and the work that they're doing?
Yes, absolutely. So the organization has been led in part by Terry Williams, who's the COO and president of the One United Bank, which is the largest Black bank in the country. And so herself, Leroy Jones, who is the president of the Circle of Brotherhood, and some others have been kind of spearheading this whole Black MDC idea. And it's, while we're focused currently on obviously what's going on at Virginia Key, the overarching theme is for equitable economic development, particularly in our community. So if you live in the community here, you've been seeing, particularly in Liberty City, you've been seeing cranes go up, you've been seeing different projects be built, whereas for years we didn't have anything being built in the Black community. So now folks have taken some interest, developers have started to move in and to build things in our community. And to not speak to us, to not talk to us, to not say how they will benefit us before they come in. And they don't look like us, and they don't work with people that look like us. And so they come in and they reap the benefits of our community, and they leave us nothing. And so other than the building that they built. And so the efforts of this organization, led by Ms. Terry Williams and others, is to really shine a light on the fact that the Black community is still underserved. We are not getting our fair share, and we are going to demand that we get our fair share. And so that's what this effort is about.
And that's dope that you guys are doing that. And I love when I saw that open letter that you guys all signed. I was like, okay, that's really good that we have this collective going on. I did note too in a Facebook post, just in all transparency, I was like, there are some people there on that list that don't really touch the community. So I'm wondering if there's been a disconnect, and if you want to speak to that, like from especially like younger generations and maybe just people who aren't as civically involved. Did you see that there was a disconnect or like a struggle in trying to get people to really understand the importance of the work that you guys are doing with that collective?
Yes, and to be honest, I haven't been as involved with the collective. I've really just gotten involved since the Virginia Key issue has come up. But I will say that absolutely, we have to have our millennials, our younger generation, involved in what's going on in the community generally. We are in this kind of social media, era now, and everything comes to us quick, and we're all kind of in our own space, and we're doing our own thing, and we're doing some great things. But we have to remember, where we have come from, and the fact that we are a part of a community. And while we can do our thing and advance ourselves in social media and other places, that we have real homes that we come home to at night. We have real communities that we live in, and that there are things that go on in those communities that affect us. And even though we're not talking about these things on social media, we have to know what's going on in our community. I'm sure, millennials and others have seen, a lot of our historic communities. We're having a lot of other folks move into these places.
Yes.
Liberty City, Overtown, Coconut Grove. Not as much Miami Gardens, but
yeah, they haven't came to Opalock and Miami Gardens yet, but they're seeping in on the west.
But these are the things that are happening, and we didn't have to really worry about our communities remaining our own in the past, but we do now, because now we're able to obviously go and move and live in other places, nicer neighborhoods that maybe we couldn't before, even moving to other states and that sort of thing. So we have to understand that if we are going to be as impactful as we were as a community, then that means because we're more spread out now, we really have to make that effort to come together and to work together. Otherwise, our voice won't be heard. There are folks that are here in larger numbers than we are. And as the saying goes, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah.
We've had our pioneers, older folks who are at retirement age now that aren't speaking as loudly as they used to. They've trying now to pass that mantle on to folks like myself and younger folks. And we have to be ready to accept that mantle and understand that if we don't protect our community, it will be taken from us.
Definitely. And they've already started that. And you spoke on something before we switch gears, because there's an upcoming community event that I really want you to really explain and let people know about it. But I want you to speak about the economic play when it comes to Virginia Key Beach Park Trust and the things that go on there. Is there a specific Black economic benefit of having a community-led board? Like, and what difference does that make? Because I think also too, people need to understand that. And so can you speak to that as well?
Thank you, Janey. Absolutely. So just as an example, the trust, we were able to secure about $20 million, actually about $15.5 million in county GOB, or general obligation bond monies, for the construction of the museum. So those monies are sitting there and they're waiting to be used. And so other folks see that money is sitting there too. And so we believe that that's what the play has been in terms of putting us as the trustees out. It's really a play. It's a power grab to get a hold of this money and be able to use it the way that they want to. And so it might still be used to build the museum, but what we are able to do as a trust is to help direct how those dollars are spent and who those dollars are spent with. And if we don't have that say so anymore, then that gives other folks the opportunity to say where those dollars are directed and who they are directed to. So for instance, for us in building the museum, we're going to make sure that as much involvement from Black contractors and minority contractors as possible, that those folks are able to participate. And so, because we want to see our folks benefit from what goes on there. So that's what we as a trust will take on as an agenda. I mean, that will be a priority for us naturally. The city commission is not going to have that same priority.
Wow.
Matter of fact, they have folks that they work with all the time who build things. So it would only be natural for them to go to the folks that they are comfortable with that build things and give this work to them. And the money may never see our community at all, as most of it never does.
Wow.
And so
And
this
that's
is the
how
one opportunity.
millionaires are made.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is our one opportunity to be able to, say, hey, man, let some other folks, get a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
And without us having a voice, chances are that won't happen.
And that's why I really wanted to speak on that, especially, for years, especially since I've been a reporter, this percentage of government contracts that goes out to Black and minority contractors is so small. It doesn't compare to the percentage of people that actually live in our counties or our cities. And so there's been this fight to increase that percentage. And with trusts like the Virginia Key Beach Park Trust, that starts to change when we have control and power of how things are dispersed. And so that's why I really wanted you to speak on that specifically, because that's the importance, especially with so many of us being entrepreneurs now. We're going after government contracts. It makes a difference when somebody has the community's best interest in mind. When they're sitting at that table, they're in a power position to be able to help people in the community with their businesses. And this is really, really the key point of why this is so important, why everybody needs to be rallying behind what's going on with this trust, because this affects us in deeper ways than we're really thinking about it. It goes past us having our communal space to have events and make sure those things are happening. That's cool. I go there for concerts and picnics, but also too the play that it has economically and how that transforms our Black communities is the real big issue. And so I'm so glad that you spoke on that. Thank you. Because
Yes.
I wanted people to hear that. I wanted that soundbite. Like, you guys have to hear why we need to care.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's going to take the younger folks to speak up and say, no, we're not letting this happen in our community.
Mm-hmm.
No, this money needs to circulate in our community. We need to be making these decisions about the things that are going to affect, how our history is going to be represented going forward.
Yes, definitely. And so our next step, it brings us to the event that's going on in marching orders. And that's something I've been really asking people specifically. What are the marching orders? You have the community's attention. I know there's an event coming up, and so I know a lot of information will be given there, and people can come in person to that. So can you tell me about that event and the marching orders that the community will be presented with, so that they can support the ousted Virginia Key Beach Park Trust and helping that be restored? So can you talk about that event happening next week, right?
Yes, and absolutely. Just before that, I just want to say, you spoke about the fact that I've been kind of popular here lately and, been on a lot of news outlets and so forth. And that's really to make the community aware so that the community can start to speak up, because it's really not about me. This is about us. This is about our community. This is about our history and preserving what is ours. So it's important that we stand up, not just me, that we stand up. And so these are the opportunities that we are making available so that folks can come out and make their voices heard, because it's going to be the collective voice that makes a change, not just mine or a couple of folks. So we do have an event planned for next week on Wednesday, and I believe you have the flyer for it as well, Janey.
Right now.
So that's going to be happening on next Wednesday, November the 16th. Beginning at 6:30 p.m. at the New Providence Missionary Baptist Church, 760 Northwest 53rd Street in Miami, in Liberty City. And this is an opportunity for folks to come out, get the information. You'll hear some of the background, a lot of which I've given today, so that there will be an understanding of what has happened. And then there will also be discussions about what we need to do and making our voice heard. There will be opportunities for folks to ask questions if there's misinformation, if people aren't understanding exactly what's happening. There'll be an opportunity for folks to ask questions. Myself, other former trust members will be there, members of the coalition that we spoke about, the Black MDC. They will be there, and we'll be able to address questions that folks have. But this is an opportunity for folks to come out and express their discontent to our commissioner, the District 5 commissioner, and to the rest of the city commission, saying that what you all did was disrespectful to our community. And that's what it was, Janey. Let's just be honest.
It was
disrespectful to take our voice away.
I think apologies should be made too, especially for the straight up lies. Like, I think public apologies should be made.
So this is the opportunity for your listeners to come out and say, we care about this community. We care about what's happening here. We care about our future, and we're not going to let you determine our future. We're going to be responsible for that. And so we want folks to come out at 6:30 at New Providence Missionary Baptist Church, make your voices heard. Join us in this fight. We need you. We need you to tell our elected officials that they have to be responsible to us, that they cannot silence us, that they have to listen to us. And that's what's being lost in their minds. They think that they're elected, they're there, and they can do whatever they want to do from here. No, 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 no. The community is watching you, and we expect you to do what we say, not what you say.
And that is all, that's what it is being a citizen. It's being civically involved. It's not just, showing up on voting day or showing up for a rally or a protest and going away. It is a constant thing that we have to show and hold people accountable, especially when things like this happen. And so I am so grateful for you to take the time. I know we went over the time that we had allotted, but I'm so grateful that you took the time to really explain and flesh out these details on what happened and what needs to happen, and the importance and significance of this fight for Virginia Key Beach Park Trust. And so I really, really appreciate you for taking time to do that. Is there anything else before I let you go? I know your schedule is very busy. Is there anything else that you feel like we need to touch on or let the audience know before we depart?
Yes, and thanks, Janey. Again, thanks for this opportunity. It's really been an amazing time to be with you and be able to share all of these things with your audience. We are also having a rally, we're having a gathering out on the park at Virginia Key Beach on Saturday in honor of veterans. And so that'll be on the 12th. I don't know if this will air by that time, but that'll be an opportunity. Also, we will be showing up at the City Commission meeting on the following day after the 16th. So we're going to have our session on the 16th at New Providence Missionary Baptist Church at 6:30, and then we'll be asking folks to show up at the City Commission meeting on November 17th at Miami City Hall between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, so that we can also make our voices heard there as well.
And so can the City Commission at this point, I know that they made this this move to oust the board. Can it be restored? Can anything be done at this point?
Absolutely. So we've already been removed as the trust, but there's nothing to say that the commission could not reconsider this item and reinstate the trust. They definitely have the power and the authority to do that if they choose. And that's why we need your audience to come out and say, this is what we demand. You have no choice, commission, other than to reinstate this trust and to restore our voice into being able to have a say in what goes on here at this park.
Nice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. This is going to be going out on all our social media. I'm going to be chopping this up in clips for people to get different information. So we'll have multiple videos going out. But also too, you guys put this on. This is like a podcast. Put this on while you're working out, cleaning up the house, so you can hear this whole conversation, or just watch it like a TV show. Put it on your TV, watch it on your smart TV. This is stuff that we need to know. This stuff that we need to be taken in. I thank you so much, Mr. Range, for doing this work, and the shoulders of your grandmother, your amazing, iconic grandmother, and your family. We stand on those shoulders here in Black Miami Dade. So we owe your family a debt for the work that they've done and started in this community. So it's an honor for me to talk to you. I'm really trying not to fangirl over here, because I've read up on Miss Range for years growing up in Miami. So I was like, oh wow, like her grandson's coming on the show. So I know I shouldn't be, biased, but I'm sorry. I go up for history. So this is really cool for me to talk to you.
Well, thank you very much. And it presents an opportunity for the audience to revisit history. And,
yes.
My grandmother was only who she was because the community was behind her.
Yes.
Without the community, she would have been nothing. And so I say the same thing. I'm only a servant, and we need the community to stand up behind us.
Definitely, guys. Let's make sure we show up to the meeting next week on the 16th, the community meeting, and then the commission meeting on the 17th. Please, all the information that you need is on Black Miami Dade, blackmdc.org. Also to the Circle of Brotherhood social media has been putting out a lot of information, so you can follow them as well. Guys, thank you for tuning into a very special episode of Can We Talk? This has been amazing. Make sure that we are supporting the things in our community that benefit us. And we need to be sticking together. And this is something that we all need to be rallying behind. You can head to hillonewsmiami.com right now to catch all of our coverage that we've done on the Virginia Key Beach Park Trust. Also to subscribe to our email newsletter. newsletter. You can follow us on social media, like and share this with all of your people in your network so that they can know all about this. Again, thank you, Mr. Range, for coming on. Black-owned media, woman-owned media, independent media. It means a lot for us to have people like you on our platform. It validates us. It gives us a bigger reach. So I really appreciate you for doing that. Thank you for taking time today to speak with me.
Well, again, thank you for the opportunity, Janey. It's really been a pleasure, and just so proud of you and the work and efforts that you are doing. And just know that we'll continue to support what you're doing and continue to keep our community informed, because that's what it's all about.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Y'all, I'll see you next time. This has been another great episode. We'll see you. Peace.